namely in the very vast field of basic research. You know, we have a lot of clinicians going around our university and around the world in different frames of collaborations with us. But today we have this outstanding privilege to have here Professor Sharma and Dr. Sharma, two eminent neuroscientists. I would say that Professor Sharma is maybe today number one in blood-brain barrier around the world. So this is outstanding. I have to mention that Professor Sharma is also Dr. Honoris Causa of our university since many years. So Harry, you are here like in your home, yes, and Cluj is also an extension of your vast network of collaboration. Sharma just came from the Bilbao University, where we are conducting together, I would say, very relevant research, not only in blood-brain barrier, but as you will see, with different groups around the world. And the University of Bilbao is in the Basque Country. It's one of the most determined to invest in research in young generation. Maybe because they are somehow independent, you know, they have the feeling of belonging to that region in a more, I would say, independent way. So they have the will to invest a bit more than other universities and regions in Spain. In the same vein, I would like to mention that Professor Sharma is president of the Global College for Neuroprotection and Neuroregeneration, and also the editor-in-chief of American Journal of Neuroprotection and Neuroregeneration. He has many, I would say, duties and engagements all over the world, particularly in a very special and long-lasting cooperation with special bodies that are conducting the highest level of scientific research in the world, like US Air Force laboratories, NASA laboratories. As you remember, maybe 2 years ago, we had the chance to have here Professor Russell Andrew, our good friend. Russell was here also. He is the chief of research in NASA for neuroscience, and also together with the Arkansas Institute of FDA, Neurotoxicology National Institute, NIDA, National Institute of Drug Abuse, just to mention a few institutions around the world, plus important university in Asia and Europe, where Professor Sharma extended, and of course I had the privilege to some extent to be part of I would say, a good section of this network, and I'm very proud again to have the chance to have him again. He has a very busy agenda, and I think that our last 10 years have been extremely dense and successful, and this year actually it's anniversary. We have an anniversary of 10 years of intense cooperation, even if we have started early. So with these things in our mind and these feelings in our heart, I think we have to give a very good hand to Professor Sharma. And of course, to Dr. Sharma. Frankly speaking, I'm fascinated about very elegant saris. Every time she's wearing a fantastic new sari, fascinating. So this is also something special. So dear Harry, the floor is yours, and actually what we do today is a bit of a highlight of what we are doing, because for the young generation it's very important to understand also basic research, because you know, neurology is fascinating, but neurology is nothing without understanding what's going on down in the molecular structures and later on at the circuitries and large-scale networks So I think what we are doing is an intense work based on cellular molecular level, and we should be aware and we should cherish this excellent, I would say, outcome, scientific outcome, particularly in the last decade. So, Ali, please. Thank you very much.
Can I get my first slide, please?
So shall we just
Oh. Okay. First of all, I tell you that I feel at home here because this is Professor Mureshano's institute and I have long association with this university and I feel very grateful for that. So in another 35 or 40 minutes, I will highlight what we have done and what is new and from this point where we should go ahead. So the point is that you are working on neurodegeneration and neuroregeneration. Professor Mureshano has worked a long time on neuroplasticity and we are collaborating with him. Now the question comes with various other organizations, nowadays that this is unfortunate, but our world is involved in so many conflicts, wars and all other things. That produces lots of nanoparticles in the environment. Of course, these traffic, when it's busy, it also produces exhaust and that is also nanoparticles. So about 12 years ago, we started work with US Air Force Research Laboratory in one of the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. And the idea is that how nanoparticles can influence our health. That's number one. The second thing is that our soldiers, they are posted at different places in the Middle East or in cold environment, Afghanistan, and they are also breathing lots of nanoparticles. And since Romania, the great country, is also a part of NATO now, and it has many other obligations according to the US laws, so I believe that many of Romanian great soldiers were also posted at different places. And the problem is universal, they are breathing nanoparticles and it has tremendous effect on their health. So we started this work and this is Department of Defense, this is Aerospace Research Laboratory, this is National Center of Toxicological Research, and this is the Air Force Health Factor, this is Swedish Scientific Research Foundation that gives us support, and also here is the Mureshano Institute. And my university, Uppsala University, was established in 1476. Quite old university, one of the three universities in Europe. They are quite old. This is the University of Boston in Bilbao. At the moment, we are doing production, and we also have support in Bilbao. And I have to declare this because whatever I am telling to you is not the official version of any organizations, but these are my personal interference and this has nothing to do with any government we are working. We are very happy to tell this is the editorial published this year telling that the time is for nanomedicine, as you can see, Alzheimer's disease, cerebralizing and nanotechnology has therapeutic value. So nowadays, gradually in every part of the world, be it United States, be it Europe or in Asia or Australia, the role of nanomedicine, people are talking about that. So what is nanomedicine? We are working together for last more than 10 years. And these are, I can just show you, it's difficult to read, but every year occurs National Innovation Summit organized by government of the United States and their defense and all other organizations in the United States. So we have a couple of technological innovation accepted with Professor Mureshano. This is 5 this time. And I can show you this is the right point because we are working with this great university together. And as you can see that from 2007 we are working and this is 2016, 17 is too early. We have produced papers every year. And this is the citation. You can see from 2009 because it takes time and 2016 our paper is cited so many times. This is the good sign that we are doing great science. And the point is that the total cumulative H index is called 12. What is H index? If a particular paper is cited how many times, that give you H index. It means that in our work, our 12 papers is cited minimum 12 times. And that is great because if it is in 10 years, it is 12 times. It means you divide. Now the latest way of evaluating the scholars is, if your H index, for example, 35, and you have worked for 40 years, then 35 divided by 40, the value is less than 1. It is not so good. It should be more than 1. And in this case, we are very happy that we have H index together 12, and we worked for the last 10 years, so its value is more than 1 point something. So this is really great at any level. And nowadays, many European universities are counting not only H index, but also this is called N index. So if you have 54, for example, H is very high, but you have worked for 60 years, then your value is less than 50. This is just to let you know because you are competing at the international level soon. So my association with blood-brain barrier dates back to very early in '77, and I did this PhD at Banaras Hindu University in 1982. And the idea is that why people get diseases, for example, Alzheimer at that time, or any stress-induced diseases, and why all other people are not getting. So the basic idea is that whether the blood-brain barrier is the culprit. So we started doing research on hypothermia, immobilization stress, and even emotional stress. And we found that depending on the intensity of the stress, for example, 4-hour hypothermia, 8 hours emotional stress, can open the barrier in different regions. So why to concentrate on blood-brain barrier? You are all students of and teachers in neurology, so you must know that, of course, we are talking about neurons. But these neurons are regulated by a very simple thing, the endothelial cells. So the reason is that you can see that endothelial cells are much more higher in number than the neurons. So this was the book produced in 2003, and this is one of the, this has become one of the classical books where we have shown that not only blood-brain barrier, blood-spinal cord barrier is also playing a role. And the good thing is that we can still use drugs to influence the blood-brain barrier, and in normal conditions this is always time. So this was the example we are using. This is the lanthanum. Its diameter is 12 angstrom, and it is stopped between the two endothelial cells. That was the anatomical basis of blood-brain barrier, discussed by Dr. Milton Brightman, who was one of the anatomical leaders at NIH. And this is the first evidence that the blood-brain barrier exists. Then my interest was in, I was doing as a physiologist, electrophysiologist. But I wanted to see in how, in stress conditions, the endothelial cells will work. So I joined Professor Inge Olsson at Uppsala University in early April 1988 to study electron microscopy. And later on, I also joined as a Humboldt Fellow in Berlin. This is Professor Servus Navarro. He is one of the leading living legions in Europe in neuropathology. And I studied electron microscopy of microvessels. So we have a hypothesis that any kind of central nervous system insert open the barrier, leading to edema formation and gene expression leading to cell death. We are working together with Professor Morisano on this aspect. This is the theory. Now coming in contact with nanoparticles, as you can see here that our soldiers are standing in the Middle East and breathing sand almost every day. Sand is silica particle, and this is quite a big problem. This is another example that missile explosion, gunpowder explosion produces carbon, aluminum, and copper, many kinds of nanoparticles, and soldiers or peacekeeping people are every day exposed to this. This is another fire picture from US government. You see that when the helicopter lands, it produces so many sands. This is also another example. So you can see that these are very difficult things. How these nanoparticles affect the blood-brain barrier? That was the basic question. We started work on that. This is Dr. William Seeker in his office. He is director of US FDA at Jefferson, state of Arkansas. We are working in collaboration with Professor Molisano as well. So one of the leading points in our lives is hypertension. If you have a stress, you are working too hard, or different kinds of emotional, physical stress, hypertension will come to you, even if you do not notice. So the first work we started with Professor Molisano is the effect of hypertension in hyperthermia. I can show you this. Then the point is that whether if we have hypertension, we are also breathing nanoparticles, can the effect be exacerbated? These are the examples where we have studied, for example, hypertension at 21 degrees Celsius and hypertension at 33 degrees Celsius. Then combined with stress of immobilization stress for short period, and then also 21 and 33 degrees Celsius. What you can see that hypertension, silica dust and stress, three factors, they are making much more barrier leaky than any other conditions. This is the leakage of This is the leakage of radioiodine in the brain, and you can see that almost all areas of the brain are affected. If the brain is damaged, one can see really at light microscopy and electron microscopy. Here you can see that this is hypertension produced by two kidney, one clip method in rats at 21 degrees Celsius together with silica. This is the structure, these neurons are damaged. But when the same condition at 33, you can see much more neurons are damaged. And hypertension alone at 33, you have also damage as compared to 21. So the idea is that hyperthermia or heat stress together with silica dust and hypertension is much more damaging. That is a condition normally met by our soldiers. Not only that, neurons are affected. Here you can see that we have measured nitric oxide synthase. This is one of the measures for radical production, and you can see that this is the situation. The idea is that what cytokines are doing, because nowadays there are lots of work going on, the role of cytokines in opening the barrier and cell damage. So one of the ideas is, and there are also discussions that tumor necrosis factor alpha might be beneficial. There are few papers. I don't know how they have got it, but the point is that tumor necrosis factor alpha, when it is elevated, it is largely dangerous to the cell. So here, together with Professor Molisano, we have shown probably for the first time that antibodies to TNF alpha, when administered 30 minutes after in these situations, the nitric oxide was decreased. Means that TNF alpha has deleterious effects because antibodies will neutralize. Then the other common problem occurring in most of the human bodies is diabetes, and this is also a byproduct of hypertension and so many other things. So how diabetes can affect? Mind it that 99% research all over the world are focused on healthy animals. They are using drug treatment in healthy animals, and 99% research are using rodents like mice and rats. The fundamental point is that these are nocturnal animals. Their normal life there is night. During the day, they are sleeping all the time. And Barbara Johansson, the neurologist, first pointed out in 1978 when she used this hypertension as a model injected by chemicals, adrenaline and noradrenaline. She showed first time at Napoca in America, the paper was published, that the same experiments were done in day and night. There is a difference in the magnitude of hypertension and opening of the barrier. So we must understand that there are so much limitations. But till now, I have not seen any paper except our group together with Professor Molisano that we try to have disease models and then we try to deal with drugs. That's why nanomedicine will come. So you can see that this is diabetes with silica with saline, and this is only diabetes with saline. This is the leakage of albumin. You can see that when the combination of the silica and diabetes, massive leakage of albumin in the brain. Whereas diabetes alone have few little, but silica alone can have much more leakage than the normal cases. What about this neuron cases? As you can see here in this column, this is diabetes and silica nanoparticles. This is much more neuronal damage and is homogeneous as compared to these situations. We tested at electron microscopy as well, and it may be new to some of you, but you can see that the myelin normally looks like this, normal, and these are the myelin sheets. They were damaged in many conditions. You can see that in diabetes and silica, these myelin sheets and vesiculation is much more prominent than these two situations. Well, this is another example that FDA recognized some of our research is going very well. Then we have produced this volume Nano Neuroscience and Nano Neuropharmacology in early 2009. We have a chapter together, and this is one of the highly cited papers with Professor Muresan. And obviously, we are also working in collaboration and met various Nobel laureates of different fields. We are working on some papers on ubiquity, and this is Aaron Shikanover, and he got a Nobel Prize in chemistry on ubiquity system. So then the question is, why one should study nanomedicine? Or what is the use of nanomedicine in general? So the point is that if you deliver a drug, normal condition, with nano delivery, it may have better effect. Also, it could be long lasting than the normal drug. Less degradable because it is bound to this nanomaterials. And it could have wide scale distribution among the central nervous system. I will tell you later. But the question that we are understanding, you might have heard some literature that people are using different nanoparticles to level drugs to deliver. The question is that whether different nanomaterials may have different effects to use same drug. The other question is that can we also see the neurotoxicity of the nanoparticles that we are using to deliver drugs? And then, of course, this part, neurotoxicity versus neuroprotection, is less understood. We are working on this. Another problem occurs is sleep deprivation in our military. And all of you know that sometimes they have to sleep for 4 hours or even 2-3 hours. And they are the people who are leaders or making decisions. Recent papers, our review will come very soon in Springer book, that even your ability to judge morally or ethically will be affected if you are sleep deprived. There are lots of papers available now. So, you can see some of the examples how our military persons on combat duty pass their time. This was also from US 5. You can see that these Navy recruits, when they have given less sleep, less than 6 hours, their average grade was much more reduced as compared to the 8 hours sleep. These are also an example. You can see that sleep deprivation, people 72 hours cannot solve simple mathematics. These are also the same example with normal sleep, and these are different grades of sleep deprivation. So this is one of the big problems. We are able, for the first time, to demonstrate the world together with Professor Muresan that sleep deprivation alone can produce neuronal changes 12 hours to 72 hours. And when there is nanomaterials like copper or silver, quite common, and even aluminium, you can see that this is much more adverse. The question is that that we have given one drug called ondansetron. This is 5:3 receptor blocker because serotonin has to do with sleep. And you can see that when it is given in 2 milligram, there was some neuroprotection. But when we have given nano delivery of even 1 milligram, there is much better neuroprotection. So that is one of the idea why we should use nanomedicine. And you can also see the same thing. You have sleep deprivation. Then you are fine. You get headache. Will it be much more damage than the normal cases? The answer is yes. This is concussive head injury that we have created in our laboratory. This weight is dropped on the skull, and you have counter to mechanism in the way. Here, the injury was produced on the right side, but you can see that left side is much more vulnerable. It is quite neurological, neurosurgical common cases. At the electron microscopy, we can also see that left uninjured half is much more damaged. And then we have introduced the concept of temperature and what temperature the damage was done. You can see that both 5 degrees Celsius and 34 degrees Celsius both have higher degree of damage as compared to the normal room temperature. These are some examples of level barrier leakage. Left side has always shown much more damage than the right side. Then the question comes, how we should deliver the drug. We are working together with our friends in University of Fayetteville, Arkansas. They have the patent on titanium nanowire. I show this picture because the nanowire was invented by this man, Dr. Young, for electronic purposes. And these are the titanium dioxide nanowires. My friend Dr. Ryan Tian and Asia, they have a patent, US patent for that. And this is Dr. Ryan Tian and this is Dr. Van. So we had a meeting at Rockefeller Institute. They have invited us. And obviously, you see that nanowires and titanium, they are very, very expensive. At that time, this Democrat governor, Mike Levy, was there, and he has injected lots of money in our research. Then with Professor Moresano, he introduced us the concept of cerebrolizing, and this is very good drug because you know that whenever we have damage or problem, almost thousands of chemicals are released. How you can treat with one simple drug? So Professor Moresano told us that this is a mixture of different neurotropic factors and active peptide fragments. That is very good for us to try. So we use this drug, and as you can see here, that this is 24 hours after head injury, and you can see when we have given cerebrolizing how the difference is. The atoms were very nice. There are no greater holes here. They represent water filled materials. Also, even 72 hours here, cerebrolizing is very good. So we require multimodal drug to treat these cases. And we, together with Professor Moresano, my wife presented this innovation, sleep deprivation, having head injury, and then it is treated by a combination of cerebrolizing and alpha stimulating hormone. Both were given by nanowire delivery. To our surprise and pleasure, this innovation was found top 15% of advanced technology in 2016. We are very happy, and US government is supporting part of this investigation further, you can see. And this was a certificate given to us by US government. To test the idea that whether we are doing right or wrong. So then we have used titanium dioxide nanowires to give another kind of drugs we had no idea about. And this was Chinese drug, real MVP, because this Chinese government contacted us and they wanted to study some of their traditional medicine to deliver to them in head injury at the moment. And this was the hospital, medical hospital, Chinese hospital.